What is up, good people? It's your girl, Nikki P. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Untamed, where we are creating lives that are designed by us and not for us. So, like I said in the intro, at the time of this video, it is close to the end of March, and this is first quarter. And I know that there are some goals that it looks like we're not hitting, or things may not look the way that we envision them looking. And I know that's the case in my life. So I have been spending a lot of time actually really trying to dig down to the root of what may possibly be keeping me from taking that next step. I have a lot of like lofty goals. I know I'm not by myself with that one. I have a lot of lofty goals, and there are some that are easier for me to go after, like working out, fitness goals, wellness goals for me, not really a problem. Other goals though, goals in business, goals in finances, goals in relationships and things like that. Some of those are a little more challenging for me. And so I've really been trying to dig to the root of that and figure out what is keeping me here. And the culprit of that has been limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs. Now, this is not a new phrase. This is not a new phrase at all. I know that we in this lovely generation of TikTok and wokeness and therapy, we got all these words now, and limiting beliefs is one of the phrases that we use quite frequently. But I actually really want to take time to zero in on exactly what limiting beliefs are. And in this particular video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the origin of where they come from. And so, first of all, a limiting belief is simply a subconscious rule that plays on repeat in your head. It could be about anything. It could be about how successful you'll be in life. It could be your beliefs about your being in a relationship. It could be your beliefs about starting your own business, or even your around the validity. Did I say that? Validity, Lord. The validity of like the role that you hold, the responsibilities and your title, or whatever, your worthiness of possibly being promoted at work. It's this subliminal message that plays all the time that will stop us from doing things. It actually, the limiting belief is what keeps us from taking action, or sometimes taking a certain type of action. Limiting beliefs form adult patterns. They really dictate the way that we make decisions. That's basically what it means. And so for me, I feel like this year in particular, I have really found that there are so many things that I have limiting beliefs on. I think that when I would listen to the various content creators that I follow, and I would listen to them talk about limiting beliefs, a lot of time they talk about how that affects your finances. That's the big one. That a lot of times that's what we're working towards. We're trying to earn more money. I know that most of the people who are listening to me right now are probably people who also have dreams of either already owning their own business, or they have dreams of owning their own business. And so a lot of the limiting beliefs that I've heard talk about have to do with finances and business. But I found that they are in so many other things. They can be in like the tiniest little things that I do, like even in my general, relationships with friends. That there are certain, like I've realized very recently that I have a belief around like the concept of an equal give and take in a relationship, meaning that if someone gives me something, that I should give back something in equal value, like all the time. It has like relationships are transactional. And so that would kind of throw me off when somebody would just be doing something for me just cuz. And I would have to allow myself to just be like, okay, this person isn't asking anything from me. They are doing something that they felt led to do. And the only job I have to do right now is be in a position of receiving. So I've really just discovered that limiting beliefs, them little sneaky bastards, is just everywhere. And so for my life, I have really been doing a lot of auditing to just see what comes up, and really even thinking about where they come from, because knowing where they come from helps me dig to the root of it and helps me to start to reframe it. So limiting beliefs can come from a variety of places. A lot of them are beliefs that we've held from childhood. So think about the people who were most present in your life as a kid. You know, your parents, your grandparents, your guardians, aunts, uncles, older cousins, peers in school, teachers. Even as you get older, society. We got this lovely social media now, so we're constantly hearing the voices of others, and then add our own experiences to it. You know, something happens to us, and our body clocks it. It clocks how it made us feel. It clocks exactly what it was. And even when we can't like consciously remember it, our nervous system remembers it, our subconscious remembers it. So that belief gets formed, and then it turns into adult patterns. And if we're not careful, it'll be dictating our entire life, and we won't even know. We won't even know, and we won't understand why things always work in a certain way. So I'm going to give you an example of one of my limiting beliefs comes from. So what I was talking about with the limiting belief that I have around relationships and that they're supposed to be transactional, I actually learned some of that from my parents. Both of my parents were very service oriented people. You know, my mother was a nurse. My mother is a nurse still. My father was a firefighter. And so both of them had these personalities where they would, you know, give a lot, give a lot, give a lot, give a lot, right? And as a kid, I saw this, and I remember looking at them and thinking how selfless they were. And it wasn't until actually just probably recently that I realized, like, as great as it was that both of my parents, you know, were able to give as much as they gave of themselves, neither one of them were ever great at receiving. And that is something that they passed on to me, that me having a difficult time receiving from people comes from, started with them. Now, did they say to me, that did they tell me, oh no, you have to only give, never think about yourself? They didn't say that, no. But that's what I saw because of how they lived. And even without me knowing, as a child, that is what registered for me. Oh, I'm not supposed to expect anything. So now how that manifests as an adult is now it's difficult for me to receive, you know, and I have to reframe my belief around the concept of I'm always supposed to give, but I'm never supposed to be in a position of receiving, you know, and that is how limiting beliefs work. And I really want to dive into this more because, you know, on my channel, I have talked about living a life that we want to live, living unapologetically, doing it on our terms. But the reality is, a lot of us are living disconnected from who we are and living in misalignment. And we're living this way because we have limiting beliefs that tell us that we can't have the life that we want to live. And if we are only going to get this one and only life, I know there are debates about whether this is our one and only life, but for all intents and purposes of this video, I only know that I have this one life. I have to be better about making sure that I don't have these limiting beliefs, these triggers, these things that pop up to tell me that I can't go after something that I want. I can't experience relationships the way that I want because I can't receive from people because in my mind it's telling me, oh, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. I can't have limiting beliefs tell me that I can't make money other than doing a job that I hate because that's the way that it's always been. And a limiting belief is telling me that, well, this is just the way that it is. I can't have that. And that's not the life I want for you either. So I am about to do a whole deep dive into limiting beliefs. Like I'm talking about, we talked about the origin of it. I'm gonna dig a little bit more into it because I want to know. I want to know, and I don't gatekeep. So what I find out, I'm gonna let y'all find out. But it is just so important to identify them because that having all the dreams in the world and talking about all the places that you want to go and all the things you want to do, if you don't nip those limiting beliefs, if you don't shut them up, if you don't reframe them, reshape them so that so that you now have the voice that says to you, go do it, you can get it, you can be or do anything that you want to do, you're going to get stuck. You're always going to come to a point where you stop. And I don't want that for anybody. So, yeah, we're about to talk about limiting beliefs. I will end this video today by telling you just a couple of ways that I have learned how to identify limiting beliefs because the first step is awareness. Because remember, I said earlier, them sneaky little bastards be running in the background and you won't even know that it's keeping you stuck and you won't understand why your life today looks the same way it did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You won't know. So, one of the ways that you can identify limiting beliefs is to pay attention to what thought do you have when you're about to do something that you really, really want to do, but you change your mind. And you always change your mind every time you come to this one thing. Pay attention to those thoughts. Catch that pattern. You're about to make a big purchase on something, but every time you about to push the button, push the little click that says, purchase, and you stop. Why? Note that. Note that because it's likely that there is a story running in the background that's dictating to you, oh, I can't buy this. I can't afford this. That's what it's telling you. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to emotional triggers. That was a big one for me. Literally having a visceral reaction to if somebody tried to do something for me and really feeling in my body a resistance to receiving a gift or something from somebody, that is telling you something. That is telling you that there's a story running in the background that you need to check. Those are the two big ones. Your triggers, your emotional triggers, and the patterns of your thoughts. Pay attention to those things. It starts with awareness. It starts with awareness. We are kicking these things out this year, y'all. Because look, we ain't finna go through a whole nother year of getting excited at the beginning of the year, coming in full force, talking about what you're going to do and all the things you want to accomplish by the end of the year. And the next thing you know, it's December and you are reciting the same goals that you came into this year with because you didn't accomplish anything that you set out to do. We are already almost through quarter 1. So now is a perfect time to take assessment and look at if you are not living exactly the way that you want to be living, ask why and start looking inward. Listen to your thoughts. Listen to your body. See how you feel every time you have to make decisions, or even when you start thinking about the life that you want to live. What does that feel like in your body? And if you start feeling some resistance, when you know that this is something you really, really want to do, that's the thing. If you know this is something you really want to do and you're feeling resistance, probably a limiting belief running in the background. So we're going to knock all that out this year. We're going to knock it all out this year. So that's all I got for you today. If anything that I said resonated with you, please give this video a like. Feel free to comment. I am here for all the comments. Subscribe if you want to hear more about limiting beliefs, if you want to hear more about actually identifying them, and then what you do once you do identify them. If you want to go on this journey, if you want to be a part of this movement of women who are tired of not living the life that they want to live, because we don't have no excuses to not be. We have everything at our fingertips in 2026. In 2026, where you can make a whole business off of AI, in 2026, where you can travel, you can work remotely, are you serious? And we're going to settle for not living the exact life that we want to live? Nah, we ain't doing that over here. So if you want to be a part of this movement, come on down, hit subscribe. I'm happy to have you as part of this movement. I will see you on the next one. It's your girl, Nikki P. Thanks for rocking with me. I'll see you guys later. Mwah.